Hello and welcome to Upstream at AKS, the series where we dive into how we're building cloud-native experiences in the open source community. Thanks for being here. We're recording this just a week before KubeCon Atlanta, so if you'll be there, be sure to stop by Microsoft booth where I'll be along with the whole team. My name is Lachie Evenson and I'm a product manager on Azure's cloud-native ecosystem team, where our mission is to help make the community successful on their cloud-native journeys. We have an awesome team that you'll find in almost every part of this ecosystem. And today, I'm happy to introduce my colleague, Rita, who is a member of our Upstream team. Welcome, Rita. It's great to have you here.
Hey, everyone. Welcome.
Please tell us about what you do at Microsoft and in the cloud-native ecosystem.
Yeah, I'm Rita Zhang. I lead the Azure Core Upstream team. This is a team of contributors and maintainers of key cloud-native open source projects like Kubernetes. We work closely with the community to bring real-world use case from Microsoft and customers into the ecosystem, helping ensure the long-term sustainability of these open source software. I serve as a Kubernetes SecAuth chair, and I'm on the Kubernetes Security Response Committee. Recently, I'm also one of the leads for the Kubernetes Working Group on AI Conformance, a joint effort between many Kubernetes 6 and the larger CNCF community.
Okay. Excellent. Well, thank you for all the work that you're doing upstream in Kubernetes over many years. I know you've been in the ecosystem for many years, but you're always going to get me when you say AI at this point. So I definitely got to pull on that. You said there's AI conformance. Can you tell me a little bit about what that is?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think most people know that, Kubernetes has a conformance program, right? This is a program that ensures every certified Kubernetes clusters behave the same way. But when we talk about AI workloads, that brings new demands, right? GPUs, accelerators, high performance storage, networking, gang scheduling, observability, and security, but for models and the AI workloads, right?
So when you say we have a conformance program, I'm guessing you're taking very similar things from the initial Kubernetes conformance programs, as you mentioned, and now you're applying that in the AI space. Like, why does that matter and why is this the right time?
Exactly. So the CNCF Kubernetes AI Conformance program is aimed to define a set of capabilities, APIs, and configurations that a Kubernetes cluster must offer on top of the standard CNCF Kubernetes conformance, right? And the goal is to reliably and efficiently run these AI ML workloads. And the aim is to simplify these AI ML operations on Kubernetes, accelerate adoption, guarantee interoperability and portability for these AI workloads. And most importantly is to reduce the overall cost of ownership, right? And enable our ecosystem to grow on an industry standard foundation.
Yeah, this is obviously, I get the value of the Kubernetes conformance. The AI conformance is really exciting to me because I think up until now, right, we've kind of been cobbling together solutions on top of Kubernetes and making it, you kind of bend and flex and extensibility. Now, do you think it's mature enough in the AI ecosystem now to stamp conformance on this for AI? Like, why do you think now's the time?
We're seeing a rapid growth in AI ML workloads on Kubernetes. We're seeing an adoption really accelerated in Kubernetes as increasing platform of choice for AI infrastructure, both for training massive LLMs to serving edge inference to running ML ops pipelines, right? But when we go deeper and you see that every platform today looks a little bit different, right? Different platforms offer different GPU drivers, schedulers, different storage configurations, and security models. This fragmentation makes workloads harder to move around and maintain, right?
Yeah.
So the whole point of AI conformance is to change that. To help guarantee that when I bring my AI workload, there is interoperability and portability across the vendors, right? And again, the goal is to simplify the adoption, right? To accelerate AI adoption.
Yeah, I think it's amazing. So when we think back, I know you've been around for many years in the Kubernetes ecosystem, to think that, well, two things here. To think that Kubernetes has been able to grow and expand and be extensible enough to actually support these AI workloads, I think is an incredible testament to the platform that everybody in the open source community has built. But I think one of the things, like, I feel like we got off maybe to a false start. You and I, many years ago, were working on Kubeflow, which is still something that's really widely used for AI workloads. What do you think is different about the kind of the Gen AI revolution and Kubernetes? Because I think, I feel like there's a much bigger critical mass at this point to actually drive AI conformance than we've ever had in the past. But it's not like we haven't been talking about AI for 5 to 10 years. I know many in the early days people were talking about it. So why does this go around really bring the energy to bring AI conformance? I think that's interesting to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I joke about it with the team sometimes, like every day there's a new AI framework project on the horizon.
Yeah.
And I think that's a signal that there is more adoption of AI, right? I love that you mentioned Qflow. I love the project when it first came out.
Yeah,
A lot of
2017 us were playing with that, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But I think, back then it was sort of, again, this is just personal opinion, right? But I think back then it was a lot of like, people who were really like the data scientists who understand how to train the models. And back then it wasn't as like, I would say widely adopted as now today. Like today, you don't necessarily have to be a data scientist or an ML expert, right, to take an open source model and utilize it to get the most out of the AI values for your business. And I think that's, in my opinion, that's a big difference, right? It is the wide adoption, and that's why for Kubernetes you no longer just have to focus on those users, but actually all the vendors, all the open source projects, all the enterprise users who may not have all the expertise, right? And this is why we need to build a consistent baseline so that when they get Kubernetes, it just works, right?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Thinking back to when we were doing Kubeflow back in 2017, as you said, it was a platform that researchers and data scientists were using to actually develop a lot of these tools that we're using today. And I think this part of that change now is, how do we bring in the folks that actually understand the infrastructure as well on this journey, and actually take a platform like Kubernetes and make it work, in these large scales? Because obviously the big piece of AI is a large distributed system, and that distributed system has all these high performance aspects to it. I think it's really amazing that we've been able to modify Kubernetes in such a way. So I think one thing I'd like to ask, like, in this conformance, what do I expect to find? What makes up the AI conformance for Kubernetes here? So what kind of things are you looking at and saying you must or should have these things, that therefore to be able to support AI? What kind of things can I find at a high level?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is the what makes AI workload different, right, from all the other normal cloud native apps. Like, why do we need a conformance program for that, right? I'll just list a few that the working group today is focusing on, right? Things like accelerator management, right? As you mentioned, because of high hypercompute and the accelerator requirements, we need to think about how to make sure these GPU sharing, driver runtime verification, and actually enabling the installation and management of all these drivers that normally cloud native apps don't necessarily need or care about, right? But in the AI world, this is highly critical, right? And we're seeing this with dynamic resource allocation feature, right? Another one is observability and telemetry. I mean, we all use this for cloud native apps, but when we talk about AI workloads, there is how do we standardize on collecting metrics for accelerators, right? And actually monitoring those aspects of memory and CPU performance, right, for our AI jobs and inference. Again, that is unique to AI workloads, right? Another one is advanced ingress for AI ML inference,
Yeah.
right? Gateway API, we love Gateway API, but hey, we could use it for inference, right?
Yeah.
And the benefit of that is to enable intelligent routing, right? I can go on
The
and
list
on
can
about
go
this.
on and on.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think it's great that all the pieces have come together and not necessarily, Gateway API was built to solve initially a different set of problems, but it's been able to be extended to meet inferencing, rate limiting and all the load balancing you need for, hosting and serving models at scale, which I think is really cool. So with anything that's happening, in upstream Kubernetes, I'm always like, when are we going to see it? Like, what kind of timeline are you working towards to be able to create this conformance plan? Like, we talking about soon, or is it years out?
Oh, yeah, great question. And I mean, the working group formed just in July. Chris mentioned the program, like beta version of the program, like I think in KubeCon Japan in the summer.
Yeah,
And then we quickly started a working group. And then by end of August, we actually finalized a list of must-have requirements that aligns with Kubernetes 134 just in time for the GA release of dynamic resource allocation, right?
yeah,
And fast forward to September, we then published the AI conformance requirements for 134 and 133 in the CNCF repo, right? Sitting next to the normal Kubernetes conformance repo, right? And now in October 2025, a lot of the vendors actually are beginning to file the first round of self-certification through the self-assessment questionnaire, right? And basically, all the vendors are submitting pull requests to the CNCF AI conformance repo with evidence for each requirement, right? So there's, and then CNCF is now reviewing them, all those submissions ahead of the upcoming KubeCon North America announcement. And
yeah.
in the future, all the vendors will basically be doing this after each Kubernetes release.
This is fantastic. When you
It's
say
fast.
July,
Yeah,
July to October within the same year inside the context of Kubernetes,
yeah,
it's not often, and this isn't a go at anybody specifically, but it's hard to move things this big that quickly.
very.
So, kudos to the folks actually working on this in the community. I know you've been involved in as well to be able to drive this rate of change. And I think, it probably speaks and harkens back to the initial conformance program that took, somewhat years. I think it probably, if I was to have to count, I'd say a year and a half, maybe to 2 years to actually create. So the actual, process of July to October, I think that's extremely fast. So that's kudos to the folks working on this to actually have that resolve to come up with this. And as you said, vendors are now coming in with self-attestations actually saying we can run this stuff, which I think is a great outcome. So, okay, if we get this, we land this Kubernetes AI conformance program, I'm talking to Rita in 6 months or a year's now. Like, what do you hope the impact of this program is? What would you like to see as a result of landing the Kubernetes AI conformance program?
Yeah, and this is why I think this is the power of the community, right? Is we, like you said, we couldn't have moved this quickly
Yeah, it's
without the
incredible.
help from all the different SIGs, and all the CNCF projects that built upon Kubernetes, right? Really driving the requirements and giving us feedback. It is by no means perfect, right? And it's ever evolving. And I also want to highlight that this program is bigger than just Kubernetes, right? It establishes a standard for all the cloud providers, AI framework developers, and enterprises who are trying to
Yeah,
build AI offerings, right? So I'm really excited about where this is going. And I think what really excites me is because we're trying to standardize things, it actually helps influence how features are prioritized, both in upstream Kubernetes. Again, example is the RA feature, but also establish the standards across all the AI frameworks as well, right? So earlier I mentioned metrics. Today there is no standard way of collecting metrics for
yeah,
accelerators, right? But also influence out of tree features that are very critical to AI workload, like like the gateway extensions for AI, right?
yeah.
And directly align those requirements so that they all work together.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you've got me really excited about this and the opportunity it brings for Kubernetes. I know so many organizations using Kubernetes as the platform of choice to run their AI workloads. So I think this is really going to signal to the ecosystem that, hey, Kubernetes is indeed ready for prime time. And as you said, all these ecosystems are tools and platforms because then, be rest assured as we continue to go through the versions of Kubernetes that they're going to have standardized interface and experiences that they can build a top on. Now, as always, I like to ask for those people watching or listening in, how do they get involved? How can they, I think there's twofold. Like they want to be part of understanding or maybe helping craft some of that conformance. And then if you are a service provider and you're like, hey, I'd love to get AI conformance for our platform, like, can you, point the two types of folks in the right direction on that front?
Absolutely. If you like to come and help shape this standard, please join us. We meet regularly, bi-weekly as part of the Kubernetes community working group called AI Conformance. You can find open issues, discussions, and meeting notes on our working group -AI-conformance GitHub repo and Slack channel. We welcome platform engineers, AI frame authors, researchers, and end users to please share your use cases and help making sure that what is important to you are part of the conformance program, but also to make sure they're reasonable and useful, right? And make sure that your feedback and real world use cases are directly influencing the future version of the spec and the testing suite.
Yeah, I love that the way you phrased it, you're given the opportunity for feedback as well, right? Because you want to make sure you're meeting the needs ultimately of these AI workloads that are running and powering these business transformations. So I think that's fantastic and great. Rita, I suspect we're going to have you back because I would love to look reflectively at how this program lands in the future. But thank you very much for teeing up, getting us really excited, not only about KubeCon and the things to come, but also this Kubernetes AI conformance program. So thank you very much for joining us today. And thank you, everybody, for listening in and watching. All the relevant links will be in the show notes. For the folks listening in, please like and subscribe. And don't forget to let us know what you enjoyed about this topic and what topics you'd like us to cover in future. And we'll both see you at KubeCon. Thank you, Rita.
Thank you.